Okay, so part 3 of the Renault Fluence Diaries. I've got a Renault Fluence ZE for a week. It's a current electric car from Renault, it's one of them anyway. And I've been driving it and I've been putting down my experiences on a fairly regular basis of what it's like to drive it. I did about 25 miles yesterday, which brings my tally up to something like 70 miles. And I was nearing the end of the charge. So on that basis, I reckon I might have got 90, even 100 miles out of it, which is pretty good going. I have been driving very conservatively, and I did do a bit of charging up, so maybe 90 miles is about right. However, I pretty much got to the end of my charge, and I had to do something about that. So what I've done is I found a friendly Renault dealership, and the Renault dealership in Liverpool is one of the ZE specialists. Now that means that there are people who are there specially trained to deal with any ZE inquiries, and there are charging points there that members of the public can use. Anyone with any electric car or plug-in hybrid or extended range electric vehicle can use them. So I went along and I plugged it in. I've got a full charge out of it. So what I'm going to do tonight is drive it fairly aggressively in the way that I might normally drive a car, and see how much range I can get out of that. In the meantime, what I wanted to do was show you what you get with one of these press cars. Now, you won't necessarily get these if you buy a Fluence. What you have here are two different cables. Now, this is a type 2 cable, and this plugs from the car into wall boxes. And if you buy a Fluence or a Kangoo or a Zoe in the future, you'll get one of these type 2 cables. That end charges into the car. Once it's been plugged in and the car is locked, it can't be undone, so someone can't come along and just take that out of your car. It's impossible. You can't drive off with it in either. If the car's immobilised, it can be pulled out, but you can't start the car if this is plugged in. So that should assuage two concerns with EVs and charging them up. What you also get, if you pay £440, I think, something like that, is this. This is a type 1 cable, and it's also called an EVSE cable, and it's colloquially known as a granny cable. So you get the same thing there, that plugs into the car, but at this end, what you have here is essentially a kind of portable wall box, and that makes sure there's not too much current flowing through it, and hopefully it isn't going to burn your house down and things like that. What this enables you to do is plug it in to your domestic power supply with a standard 3-pin socket. I've been charging this at my cricket club where I play cricket, and I reckon a charge of that is a good 10 hours from what I've seen. But the problem that I've got is I live in a terraced house in Liverpool, as a lot of people do in Liverpool and across the country, and about 1 in 3 people live in terraced houses. And the problem with a terraced house is this: my cable's got to get across to that charging port on the Fluence. Now, I can open a window here, and down here I can plug it in, so it's physically possible to do it at a bit of a stretch, but realistically that means you've got your window open for 10 hours and you've got a cable trailing across the ground for that amount of time as well. Now clearly that's problematic, because I don't want to leave my window open where anyone could get in for 10 hours overnight, which is the best time to charge up your electric car. I don't want to leave a cable trailing across the road in these litigious times, because someone trips up on that, I'm in a whole world of trouble. So the granny cable is of fairly limited use. In addition to that, Renault says that you probably shouldn't use it apart from an occasional charge, and I've talked to the guys in the Renault ZE specialist dealership. They also say that you shouldn't really use it unless it's an emergency, so you just need a bit of juice to get home, whatever it is. So essentially, unless I can get a wall box in here, which is not viable, and I'd still have to run a cable out of the window, an EV is pretty much useless for someone like me who lives in a terrace street. And despite how clever the Fluence is, with all of its clever technology and the numerous ways that Renault has made it as easy to own one of these cars as it possibly can, it's simply a bit of a non-starter for people like me.